Hey, what's up, guys? Today, I'll show you a romantic science fiction film, The Space Between Us. Spoiler ahead, watch out and take care. The film begins when Nathaniel, a multi-billionaire CEO of Genesis, speaks about a letter he wrote when he was 12 years old. Its content is about the planet Mars, that Mars is a planet where people could live. He believes that living on Mars is the future solution because Earth is facing various challenges. Nathaniel also states that he will prove that anyone could live on Mars and not just a place to visit. As Nathaniel speaks his speech, everyone applauds his every thought. It seems like everyone is in favor and proud of his statements. Shortly after, he introduces the courageous 6 people who will fly to Mars, the first citizens of what they call East Texas. Sarah Elliott, the lead astronaut, begins to speak her thoughts. Scott Hubbard of Aerospace Times asked a question to her saying, "How does it feel to sacrifice her 4 years of life to Mars?" And she responds that she did not find it a sacrifice but an opportunity. And another person asked a question about fears of doing this historic expedition, and she replies, "Courage is fear that has said its prayers." Everyone is amazed at her answers, and she receives a standing ovation while yelling cheers for them. Then the door slowly opens, and everyone sprints to see closer the Magellan 61, the ship that the astronauts will use. 2 months later, Sarah Elliott is vomiting, and her colleagues start to worry about her situation and later find out that she is pregnant. The board holds a meeting and decides to let the baby live on Mars and hide it from the public. When Sarah Elliott successfully delivered her baby, she suddenly died. In this scene, Tom explains the baby's status, that he cannot live on Earth because of his conditions. The team is worried about it and finding some ways. Nathaniel is willing to take a risk and take responsibility for everything. But Tom reveals the situation of Nathaniel that makes him not allowed to go to Mars. They brainstorm everything they could. The last thing they can do is to keep it secret and let the baby continue his existence on Mars. Nathaniel is disappointed with the outcome of their meeting, so he walks alone, thinking about the previous event. Nathaniel went to his rocket ship, attempting to go to outer space, but he failed. All perish. Luckily, it's just a virtual rocket ship, which he uses to practice flying to prepare himself to go to outer space soon. 16 years later, Gardner is having a conversation with his best friend, Senvor, a machine that has a rudimentary artificial intelligence. During their talk, Gardner requests Senvor to make him a map through the ventilation system to the storage facility in East Texas. But Senvor refuses to give him the map. As a consequence, Gardner cuts the wire of Senvor to make him stop functioning. After doing it, he is about to do something, but he receives a message from Kendra and hurriedly sprints to his duty area. Gardner tries to cover up himself by using a microscope because he is late, but he didn't know that Kendra saw him rushing late to his area. After everything, Gardner proceeds with his plans. He moves his way using the ventilation to go to the storage facility. He succeeds and earns all the information and stuff he needs. While checking the things of his mom, he sees a flash drive. Due to his curiosity, he opens it and finds a video of her mom with a guy. They look so lovely, which is why Gardner assumes that it is his dad. After printing the screenshot of their picture, he opens his laptop and chats with his one and only friend who lives on Earth, Tulsa. Gardner expresses that he wants to go to her place, but can't because of his disease, which later on Tulsa doubts. The bell rings and Tulsa says goodbye to him because her lab class is now over. Gardner is watching a movie when Kendra knocks on the door to enter. Gardner starts to tell the plot of the story and shares some of his reflections. Later on, Kendra finds out that he is a romantic guy. Gardner leaves his shelter secretly to visit the grave of his mother. Due to his sadness, he freaks out while driving, resulting in an accident, but luckily Kendra follows him and saves him eventually. Kendra reprimands him for what he did, but Gardner justifies that he wants to see his mother's grave. Kendra is wondering how he successfully did this plan, and Gardner answers, "A scientist raised me, in a bubble." Gardner enters his room and locks the door, but Kendra knocks to reveal that the play he saw outside is just a medal. The truth is that the ashes of his mother are thrown somewhere in the Pacific Oceans. In the next scene, Tom makes a surprise visit to Nathaniel to talk about Gardner. Kendra and Tom persuade Nathaniel to send the boy back on Earth. However, Nathaniel still refuses to sign the paper for his reasons and advantage despite the inhumane idea. While Gardner is working, Kendra calls his attention to tell the great news. They already found a cure, so he could go and live on Earth. Due to his excitement, he shares this news with Tulsa. Since Gardner is clever, he devised a plan that will make him happy on Earth. He snatches the money from the storage of his colleague there and keeps it for his plans. A ship lands victoriously. Gardner is now stepping his foot on Earth and gets amazed when he sees the water. He feels heavy and cannot walk easily. Since Gardner has complications, he is still not allowed to enjoy the Earth, and has to be quarantined until he recovers. Nathaniel enters the room. He is delighted to see him. They start small talks and exchange random questions about Earth and Mars. While Kendra is away from him, Gardner tips the pressure to function on the emergency sounds so everyone will think that there's an emergency from him to escape easily. Nathaniel and Kendra know that it isn't an emergency and tries to follow him. Despite all the obstacles that might notice him, he still manages to escape by hiding in the truck. Gardner seizes his moment on Earth. Even people laugh at him because he looks ignorant and insane. Since he is determined, he finds a way to be with Tulsa. Triumphantly, he finds Tulsa at her school and slaps him for ghosting her for several months. Tulsa doesn't know anything at this time, but Gardner doesn't lose hope and still pursues Tulsa. He even joins a class of Tulsa and impresses all her classmates with his clever answers during the recitations. After their class, Gardner explains everything, but Tulsa doubts and refuses him. But when Gardner elaborates on his situation more, Tulsa gives him a chance and gives him a ride on her motorcycle to stay at her home. But unfortunately, Nathaniel and Kendra are there to fetch him because the system tracked the address of Tulsa. They know that it is the only place that Gardner will go. But despite their effort to save Gardner from harm, Gardner refuses to come with them and escape. To his luck, Tulsa is determined to help him, so she turns on her bike lane to escape the place. But during their trip, an accident happens, but luckily they survive by jumping the bike lane before it lands and explodes. Still, they manage to locate the location of his father by surfing the internet. At this point, Tulsa does all she can do to help him go to Arizona. Although Gardner feels immoral, they steal a car from someone. He doesn't have a choice because it is the only and fastest way they can do it. Tulsa brings him to a mall to buy their essentials and also clothes. After shopping, they drive straight to their destination and have some chit-chat. Since their location is far, they chose to rest somewhere. While Gardner is enjoying the fire, Tulsa walks straight to him and commands him to close his eyes and begins to hug her tight. Due to these, Gardner wonders how she managed to become more beautiful in 20 seconds. Tulsa appreciates it but directly asks him if she wants to kiss her. But Gardner doesn't know how to do it since kissing has not been a practice on Mars, but Tulsa encourages him, so they do it. They spend the rest of their night under the stars, which is an ideal place while lying on their camping bed, enjoying the romantic and pleasurable activity that Gardner experiences for the first time. On the following day, while sitting on a cliff, a girl calls their attention and Tulsa says that they are looking for Shaman Neka. They are so lucky, because that girl knows where to find Shaman Neka. At this point, Shaman Neka can't remember the name they are inquiring about, but they are so lucky because Shaman Neka kept his records and found the address. Tulsa takes him somewhere in order for him to enjoy the world more. Gardner can't really believe that everything he sees is real. It goes beyond his expectations, but sadly he gets weaker and weaker until he falls on the ground. Tulsa brings him to the nearest hospital. At this moment, Tulsa sees his conditions that makes her believe that all the stories Gardner tells him are genuine. While he is at rest, Tulsa is about to leave her to chase his father, but Gardner suddenly regains consciousness and explains that he really needs to come with her for some reason. Tulsa finds his reason acceptable, so they immediately escape and steal a car again to go to Summerland. Nathaniel and Kendra are about to ride a plane to chase Gardner. Lucky for them, because their technology is significantly advanced, which makes them detect their location. Finally, they arrive at their destination. The ambience is excellent. It is windy. The brightness of the sun and waves of the water sets the mood of Gardner to appreciate the earth more. Shortly after, they walk ahead to see his father. At this point, Gardner shows his picture and starts to introduce himself, but his father seems to be doubtful and can't believe his claims. That is why he gets the phone to call the police, but Tulsa keeps on persuading him that he is telling the truth, until this guy tells her that Sarah Elliott is his sister. Due to his conditions, his emotions affect Gardner so much. It becomes sadder and sadder, so he leaves the house and goes his way to suicide on the water. But Tulsa sees him and sprints to chase him. However, as much as Tulsa wants Gardner to live, he keeps on telling her that there's no sense in continuing his existence. He wants to end his life on the beach because he believes his mother is there, but Tulsa is really a great comforter. They kiss while the waves are hitting them strongly, which makes them lose control. Tulsa can't lift Gardner because of the strong waves, but fortunately, Nathaniel enters the picture and lifts Gardner to save him. At this point, they don't waste any single minute to save him. Gardner, Kendra, and Tulsa ride the ship, so Gardner can inhale the air he used to inhale, as this is one of the ways to save him. Since they are flying slowly, Nathaniel takes the risk of leading the ship to run faster. Shortly after, they reach outer space and everyone begins to float. Kendra commands Tulsa to wake Gardner, and after a few slaps, he regains consciousness and begins to restore his strength. After a few days, Gardner decides to go back again on Mars as it's the only way to live longer. Before leaving the Earth, Kendra delivers her last words for him. Gardner does the same and tells her that she is the best mom that he ever had. It is a heartbreaking moment for the both of them, but they don't have a choice. Before Gardner enters the ship, Tulsa luckily catches him to express her gratitude and love for him, and Gardner does the same. The movie ends when Kendra visits Tulsa to ask her to live in her big house in Colorado. Tulsa agrees and later on becomes one of the trainees of NASA that will be sent to Mars in the future. Also, Gardner still wants to live on Earth, but he realizes that people want to be in his shoes, so he starts to appreciate his home and continues his existence on Mars with his father, Nathaniel. This is Angry Mustache Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your fun for today.